Edward and Stan are best friends. Edward lives with his wife, Leah, and Stan lives alone. Can you spot Stan's house? There's a love note on the fridge in the right kitchen. Therefore, Stan lives in the left one. Edward is furious because Leah cleaned his home office without permission. Can you spot 5 changes? Here they are. A lot of neighbors gather for Edward's garage sale. One of them is a robot. Can you guess who? This gentleman. Stan is visiting a food court and finds 2 similar bakeries. Can you spot 5 differences between them? Over here. What about these burger places? Can you find 10 differences? Here they are. Can you spot a mistake in this menu? Tuna isn't an ice cream. What about this coffee menu? Any mistakes? Free toppings have a price. Stan works in an agency that holds super secret investigations. They're looking for people with superpowers all over the planet. One day, an anonymous user broke into their corporate system where all the data was stored. Stan finds 3 suspects who are capable of such crimes and interrogates them. He asks only one question. What did you manage to find out when you stole the data? Billy says, I haven't done this kind of crime for 15 years. I don't want to go back to prison. Anna says, I was going to steal your data, but I changed my mind. You didn't have any valuable information. Nobody will believe in superheroes. And Liam replies, Bruh, if I committed such a crime, I would have covered all traces. Who's lying? Anna. She couldn't have learned the secret information without breaking into their system. Stan is visiting a fashion show. He received a clue that one of these models can be a robot. Can you guess who? The second lady. She has a USB outlet on her neck. The robot model, Nina, is very famous, and nobody knows that she's not human. Stan invites her to his office. Nina confesses, I arrived from another planet to study human behavior. Unfortunately, someone recorded their secret interrogation and posted it online. Only 4 people were in the office at that moment. Stan questions them. Ryan, the cleaner, says, I was vacuuming the 5th floor and couldn't hear anything. Mia, the manager, says, I'm a huge fan of Nina, even though she's not a human. I would never set her up like that. And the guard, Billy, says, I didn't hear your conversation. I was watching a football match in my headphones. Who's lying? Ryan. Their office is a 4-story building. Nina invites Stan over for dinner. She lives in a big, circular house with a maid, a butler, and a gardener. Nina goes to her room to change. Suddenly, Stan hears her scream and runs to her. Oh no, someone broke into my safe and stole my diamond necklace. Stan interrogates the staff. The butler says he was organizing the library. The maid says that she was dusting the corners. And the gardener says she was watering the roses. Who's lying? The maid. She was dusting the corners, but Nina lives in a circular house. So there are no corners. Stan invites Nina to a fancy restaurant to refute rumors that she's a robot. Can you spot any mistakes in this menu? They confused pomegranate with meat. Stan leaves the table to wash his hands and returns in 2 minutes. Can you spot 5 changes? Here they are. Nina slips and falls on the floor. Now she needs to replace a broken fragment in her body as soon as possible. Stan takes her to a secret lab. They need to enter a 3-digit code to open the door. He starts looking for clues and notices some tips written on the wall. But the last digit is erased. Can you help them crack the password? The digits indicate the points of intersections of the lines, so the last digit is 4. They open the door and enter a spacious hallway. A note on the wall says, "Lab is behind the purple door." Can you help the guys find the purple door? The first door is wooden, but it has an inscription and an arrow indicating that the purple door is on the right. The second door is painted blue and red, so it doesn't fit. Let's take a closer look at the third door. There is purple color under the layer of yellow paint, so the guys choose this door. Nina throws a party at her house and invites Stan. He receives an anonymous message. There's a werewolf among the guests. Can you find this person? The first lady is wearing very long nails, and the second guy has a heavy beard. But it doesn't prove anything. But let's take a look at the third lady. She's trying to hide her shiny yellow wolf eyes under her fancy sunglasses. In the kitchen, Stan meets 3 chefs preparing delicious meals. One of them is a criminal. Can you guess who? The third lady. She's adding glass fragments to the food. Stan calls the police and they arrest the third chef. She confesses that one of the guests, John, bribed her. He asked her to put glass in Stan's plate, but there are 3 Johns at the party. The officer asks one of them just one question. "How do you know Stan?" John 1 says, "I'm a billionaire and I don't do interrogations without my lawyer." John 2 says, "I came here to see Nina because she's my crush. I've never seen Stan before." And John 3 says, "Stan and I went to the same college. I haven't seen him for many years, but today we met by chance." Who's lying? John 1. He's wearing a fake Gucci sweater. It's unlikely that he's a billionaire. The next day, Stan wakes up in a dusty basement. A creepy voice says that Stan can pass through one of these 3 doors. Behind the first door, there's a tank with crocodiles. Jungles full of wild animals are hiding behind the second door. And there's a giant blue whale behind the third door. It can easily swallow an adult human. Which door is more or less safe? Stan should pick the third door. Whales can't survive without water. Therefore, it's not a threat. Stan returns to his office and finds out that someone has stolen the most expensive superhero costume from the lab. Only 3 people knew about this artifact and had a key: Mia, Billy, and Rose. Stan questions everyone. Mia says, "I was feeling sick yesterday, so I went home." Billy says, "I locked the office at 10 p.m. and carried my key with me." And Rose says, "I carried out technical testing of the suit in the afternoon. After that, I locked it up and left." Who stole the costumes? Mia. She's wearing a superhero costume under her clothes. Stan offers Mia a deal. "If I write your exact weight on a piece of paper, you'll give the costume back." Mia agrees and gives Stan a piece of paper and a pen. In a minute, she returns the costume. How did Stan do it? Stan literally did what he said. He wrote the phrase, "your exact weight," on the paper. Stan needs to find new investors for his agency. That's why he's meeting 3 people, and each offers Stan a deal. Mallory says, "I used to have unique superpowers when I was little, but I didn't develop them. Now I'm old and rich, and I want to invest in your lab to help people like me." Cherry says, "My parents left me billions of dollars. I want to invest in progressive projects." And Alfred says, "Look, I can help you develop your agency, but I want to have a controlling stake and hire my own staff." One of them is a liar. Can you guess who? Take a closer look at Mallory's hand. She's a robot. Therefore, her story is a lie, because robots don't age. 2 cars are driving through the city. They both started their journey at the same time. The green car is moving at a speed of 30 miles per hour. The yellow car is faster. Its speed is 50 miles per hour. And still, at one point, the green car comes across the yellow car. How is it possible? The cars are traveling in opposite directions. Aaron is a detective who has to work undercover at a luxurious resort. The police suspect that the hotel owners are involved in some shady deals. Aaron's task is to sneak into the manager's office and check his documents, but the door is locked, and there's a combination lock. Aaron has to figure out the password. The detective knows he needs to solve a math riddle, and the answer will be the code. As soon as he punches in the code, the door opens. What is the correct number? It's 30. There are no mathematical symbols at the end of the first and second lines. It means the whole thing looks like this. A very famous painting disappeared from a museum. Later, the police managed to find it, but there was a problem. They found not 1, but 3 paintings. Only one of them is original. The others are just copies. Can you help the police figure out which is the original painting? It's the one with the brown frame. Take a look. All frames in the museum are made in the same style. Now, you've got accepted to the best school of witchcraft and wizardry. One of the best classes you have to attend is about transforming into animals. There are 3 professors who teach this class. Each of them specializes in transforming into a certain animal. Look at your professors and try to figure out what kind of animal each of them turns into. Have you noticed that the first professor has a forked tongue? He must transform into a snake. The second professor has a lion's tail. It must be the animal she transforms into. And the third professor has bear claws. He must turn into a grizzly bear. Maria was a princess and the heir to the throne. One day, an evil witch lured the girl into a magic forest. Maria got lost. Luckily, she had an enchanted pendant given to her by one of the king's magicians.
"It will help you find your way back home if you ever get lost," he said.
Maria tapped the pendant, and 3 spirits appeared in front of her. The first spirit was an owl, the second was a butterfly, and the third spirit was a hawk. Unfortunately, only one of them knew the way back to the castle, and if Maria chose to follow the wrong spirit, she would find herself even further away from home. Can you help the princess pick the correct spirit animal? Have you noticed the banners in the throne room? There was a butterfly on each of them. It means the butterfly is the official symbol of the kingdom. Maria should follow the butterfly spirit. A man lives in a high-rise apartment building. He has an unusual habit related to the evening elevator ride after he returns home from work. If it's been raining, he always takes the elevator straight to his 17th floor. If it's sunny, but there's someone else in the elevator with him, he always gets straight to the 17th floor. But if it hasn't been raining and he's alone in the elevator, he takes the elevator to the 11th floor and walks up the stairs the rest of the way. Can you figure out why? The man is very short. He can only reach the button for the 11th floor. If someone else is in the elevator, he asks them to press the button for his floor. And when it's rainy, he uses his umbrella to press the button. Johnny, a party clown, is carrying 3 pieces of gold. Each of these pieces weighs 2 pounds. While walking, the guy comes to a bridge. It has a sign saying the bridge can only hold a maximum of 180 pounds. Johnny weighs 176 pounds. Johnny reads the sign and still safely crosses the bridge with all the gold. How is it possible? Johnny is a clown, so he knows how to juggle. While walking across the bridge, he juggled the gold, keeping one piece in the air.
You're getting hungry and want to boil a 2-minute egg. If you only have a 3-minute hourglass timer, a 4-minute hourglass timer, and a 5-minute hourglass timer, how can you boil the egg for only 2 minutes? When you see the water boiling, turn the 3-minute timer and 5-minute timer over. When the 3-minute timer runs out, you need to put the egg in the boiling water. You'll have 2 minutes on the 5-minute hourglass timer, and when it finishes, take the egg out of the water and enjoy your meal. Mr. Wright had a small store in Chicago called 5 Flags, but there were 6 flags hanging outside. He could easily correct that mistake, but he didn't. Can you figure out the reason? At first, it was just a mistake. But later, Mr. Wright noticed that people would often come to his store to tell about that problem, which increased his sales. A wise king realized he was tired of all the hard work he had to do, so he decided to find someone who could replace him. He decided to make a challenge, and the one who nails it will become the new king. Anyone who wanted to take the throne needed to put a whole cucumber into a glass bottle without cutting the cucumber or damaging the bottle. The participants had a week to do it. This challenge seemed to be impossible, so only 5 people decided to take part, and there was only one winner. How did he put the cucumber in the bottle? He placed a baby cucumber still on its stem into the bottle. Cucumbers grow rather fast, so he had enough time to win that competition. If it's raining at midnight, can you expect that in 72 hours it'll be sunny? Nope, in 72 hours, it's going to be night again. You see a bathtub filled with water. You have a spoon, a cup, and a bucket. Which will you choose to empty the bathtub? Obviously, choose to pull out the plug. Allison majored in math at university. Her roommates wanted to test her intelligence. They took 3 envelopes and wrote short messages on them. Then they put the answers to Allison's exam questions in one of the envelopes. Only one envelope had a truthful message written on it. The other 2 were false. Allison wasn't allowed to open the envelopes and could only pick one. The first message read, "There are no exam answers here." The second was, "The exam answers are here." And the third message read, "The exam answers aren't in the second envelope." Which envelope should Allison pick? The third one. It tells the truth, which means the exam answers are in the first envelope. Joanna and Josh were on their honeymoon in France. On the first day, they went on a city tour around Paris and left all their stuff in the hotel room. When they came back, someone was standing outside their door trying to get in. The couple called the receptionist right away, but the man claimed Joanna and Josh owed him some money for the tours they had taken in the past 4 days. The receptionist knew the man was lying right away. How did he figure it out? It was the couple's first day in the hotel. Russell and Anna were on vacation. One day, Anna told Russell she couldn't go to the beach with him because she was feeling unwell. When Russell came back to the room to grab his phone, Anna was gone. He found her by the pool and asked, "Are you here alone?" She nodded, but Russell immediately realized she was lying. How? There were 2 soda pops on her table and 2 fruit platters. Apparently, this was also going to be Russell and Anna's last vacation together. Gregory was on a mission to take some nature photos for his blog. As he was walking through the forest, he fell into a deep pit. He tried to climb out of it, but in vain. When he held onto one rock, it gave away, and water started to pour inside. The pit was filling fast. Gregory saw a deflated ball, an empty barrel, and a piece of wooden board. What should he use to get out of the pit? Well, the deflated ball is too small and has a slit in its side. The wooden board won't support his weight. The best option is the empty barrel. It'll keep Gregory afloat. An old king had no heirs to the throne, but he needed one. So he asked the smartest young people in the kingdom to gather at the palace. He gave them each an egg. Then he said that whoever took the best care of their egg and could grow a beautiful bird would be the next king or queen. Half a year later, the young people came back with gorgeous birds of different kinds. Only one girl, Scarlet, came back empty-handed. She said she couldn't do it. Surprisingly, the king announced her to be the next queen. Can you explain why? The king gave everybody a simple rock instead of a real egg, which means that no one could possibly grow a bird. Everyone else cheated except for Scarlet, and the king realized she was the only one who would make a good and fair queen. Ariana wanted to have some pocket money, so she started to work at a bookstore. At the end of her first day, she noticed that one book of the collection was missing. There was no record of someone buying it, so it must have been stolen. Ariana was an honest girl. She went to the manager and admitted she hadn't noticed the theft. But the manager just laughed and said that nothing was missing. Take another look at the bookshelf and try to figure out why. The collection only has 8 books. The 9th book is actually book number 6, but it's standing upside down and in the wrong place. Mrs. Miller has 4 daughters, Abby, Beth, Charlie, and Danny. They're identical quadruplets. Once, the woman asked the girl's teacher to let Abby go after the first class. She had an important appointment. The teacher couldn't tell the teenagers apart, and the girls wanted to have some fun. So they gave her a hint. Charlie is somewhere in the middle. Danny is on the left side of Beth and on the right of Abby. Abby is right next to Danny. Can you help the teacher identify all the girls and find out which one is Abby? So we know Charlie is somewhere in the middle, and since Danny has someone on both sides, she's somewhere in the middle too. If Charlie is the second, Danny must be the third, and since Danny is on the left side of Beth, Beth must be the fourth, and Abby the first. But it can't be true, because Abby and Danny are supposed to be next to each other. But if we switch Charlie and Danny, Danny will be right next to Abby, but still on the left side of Beth. It means that the right order is Abby, Danny, Charlie, and Beth. Abby is the first girl. Mrs. Jones' friend called her to say she had just seen one of her sons at a party, but she wasn't sure which one it was. Mrs. Jones never allowed her sons to go to parties. She asked them if any of them had been there, but the guys denied breaking the rules. Mark said he had been studying. John said he had been practicing for his piano class. And Ethan said he had been playing computer games. Can you figure out who's lying? Ethan. Look, he has a lipstick stain on his collar. A company was hiring a new manager. They wanted full commitment, so they didn't want this person to have a family. Ben and Rob came to the interview. Both of them said they weren't fathers and didn't plan to become ones. Rob had a flawless resume, but the company still hired Ben, even though he wasn't as good as Rob. Why? Before the interview, Ben had to take his teenage daughter to her ballet class. After that, he accidentally brought her pink ballet backpack with him. The HR specialist noticed it and realized Ben had a daughter. In June, all students had their final math exam. The professor looked at them and understood that one of them was going to cheat. Who was it, and how did the man figure it out? It must be this girl. It's June, and everyone is wearing t-shirts and shorts. But she's put on a sweater and high boots. She must be hiding something. George and Carter are cooking dinner for tonight. Can you see who is doing something wrong? It's Carter. Look, he's using rat poison as a salad dressing instead of oil by accident. I think I'll skip the salad tonight. Liam and Owen were camping in a forest. Suddenly, they saw a bear near their tent. Liam decided to run away, and Owen froze and stood still. Who is in danger? Liam. The bear is likely to start chasing him, and the animal will definitely be faster. If you ever find yourself in such a situation, it's better to keep your cool. Slowly move backward, keeping eye contact. Michelle and Emma were enjoying their time outside when a storm started. Michelle hid in her car that was in the middle of the beach, and Emma just kept swimming away from the shore. Who is not smart? Emma. She should get out of the water immediately and join Michelle in the car. It's dangerous to touch water during a thunderstorm.
The airport security had an emergency alert. There's a man with fake documents trying to fly away from New York. They had 3 suspects who look almost the same. Which passport is fake? No matter what country a person is from, no passport can have a photo with mountains in the background. All backgrounds should be solid.
John's passport has a suspicious photo in it. His documents are fake. Mason is a lifeguard. One day, a girl came up to him asking for help. She said someone had stolen her wallet, which she noticed when she was going to go and grab a soda pop. Mason checked the towel where the girl left her stuff, but the only thing he noticed were her own footprints. Is this girl lying to Mason? The girl was telling the truth. Mason had an eagle eye, and he saw a guy with a fishing rod. He must have stolen the girl's wallet. No one wants to go fish in the public beach. Robbers stole a few precious gems the other day. The police were alerted immediately, but they didn't know where to look for the thieves. Suddenly, they got an anonymous email. Check all the bottles in the cars leaving the town. Best regards, Mr. X. At the end of the day, the officers stopped a car loaded with boxes and bottled water. The bottle bottoms were all covered with paint, so they thought the gems should be in one of them. The level of water was the same in all the bottles, but when one of the officers placed one of them right next to the box, he instantly realized something was off. What was it? The bottle standing next to the box is much lower than those still inside. The police then found there was a double bottom and the gems were hidden right underneath it. Two friends, Martin and Clyde, had a bet. Martin said he would throw a ball and it would come back to him. He also said there would be no obstacle or wall the ball could ricochet from. Clyde said it was impossible, and he lost. How's that? Martin threw the ball straight up. It obviously came back to him. No magic, just physics. Emily grabbed a really nice muffin at the cafeteria and put it on the office desk. She wanted to save it for later, but when she came back from the meeting, she saw someone had eaten her muffin. There were only 3 people who could do that, and only one person is telling the truth. Grace said it was Alicia. Alicia said she didn't eat anything. Tina says she didn't eat anything either. Who ate the muffin? It was Tina. Only one person is telling the truth, and it's Alicia. If Grace or Tina told the truth, then there would be 2 truthful people, but Emily knew only one person wasn't lying. Patrick really wanted to come to a private party, but the security would ask each person if they knew the secret access code. Patrick decided to overhear their conversations. When the person came up to the entrance, the security said 6, and the guest said 3. Then the security said 10 to the second visitor, and the reply was 3 as well. The third visitor also said 3, but the security said 2. Patrick thought he was ready to join the best party in town. When he came up to the entrance, the guard said 7, and Patrick replied 3. The security didn't let him in. What should Patrick have said to get into that fancy party? He should have said 5. The guest needed to count letters. 6, 10, and 2 have 3 letters. That's why the answer was 3. In the word 7, there are 5 letters. Ben loved diamonds. For some time, he would spend $5,000 a day on precious stones. At some point, he realized he had too many gems, so he started selling them at $3,000 a piece. Sometime later, he became a millionaire. How is that possible if he was obviously losing money? Before his gem rush, Ben used to be a billionaire. Since he started losing money, he became only a millionaire. A vampire moved to a big city where nobody knew him to start a brand new life. Still, he just couldn't help it and started biting locals every single night. People got scared and invited a private investigator to solve the problem. A couple of days later, Detective Reitman had 3 suspects. He decided to visit each of them to find out who the vampire was. After visiting all the houses, he was sure he found the vampire. Who was it? Well, the man on the left has loads of garlic in the kitchen, and vampires are scared of it. The second suspect had a lot of silver-plated accessories, earrings, piercings, and a chain. Vampires don't really like silver. The guy in the blue shirt is a vampire. Long ago, in the kingdom of Riddles, a criminal was caught. The guards took him to the king, who was famous for loving riddles. King Archibald said that if Harry, the criminal, managed to solve his riddle, he would set him free. Harry agreed, and Archibald drew a 2-foot line on the ground with his foot. The king asked Harry to make this line 2 times shorter without touching it. In the end, Harry was free. What did he do? Harry drew a 4-foot line with his foot, so that the one the king drew got 2 times shorter.
Wendy is an art teacher. This morning, someone pranked her by putting glue on her coffee mug. She questioned 3 suspects. Blair says,
I didn't do it. I was too busy painting these beautiful flowers.
Jason says, I overslept and came to the studio later than you. And Zara says,
Why would I do that? You're my favorite teacher.
who did it? It was Zara. There's a glue pen in her pocket. Wendy gives her students a task and leaves the studio. After a while, she returns and sees this painting. She says, Wow, who painted this masterpiece? 3 students claim to be the author of the painting. Can you guess who tells the truth? To solve this mystery, we should take a look at their palettes. Only this student has all colors that match the painting. Wendy goes outdoors to buy some food for lunch. Suddenly, she sees a cyclist lying on the ground. Can you guess what happened here? In fact, the car hit the ketchup bottle. The cyclist just fell nearby and got stained. Wendy receives a delivery. 3 identical boxes with artist supplies. All boxes are labeled incorrectly. Wendy needs to label all boxes correctly by opening just one of them. Can you help her? Since all 3 boxes contain the wrong items, Wendy should open the 3rd box. If it contains watercolor, the first box will definitely have brushes, and the second box, watercolors and brushes. And if she finds brushes in the 3rd box, the first one will contain both watercolors and brushes, while the second one, watercolors only. The delivery guy walks outside and yells, Hey, call the police! Someone stole my car! The police begin an investigation and find these 3 suspects. One of them is a thief. Can you guess who? The first guy is just coloring his fence, and the 3rd one is a gardener. But the second guy is hiding a lockpick in his shirt pocket, so he's the thief. Wendy comes to a party. 3 guys invite her to dance, but one of them is a werewolf. Can you guess who? The first guy is just wearing a werewolf costume. The second one has some scratches, but it proves nothing. But the 3rd one has a real wolf tail. After the party, Wendy wakes up in a cell made of ice. She only has a pickaxe in her hand. Meanwhile, her best friend Zach is locked in a similar cell with a drill. Can you predict who will escape? Only Wendy will escape. Zach can't use a drill without electricity. The next day, Wendy arrives at the art studio. She leaves her takeaway coffee at the desk and goes to the toilet. Wendy returns and finds out that someone had drunk her beverage. She checks the cup surface for fingerprints, but she only finds her own traces. Wendy questions 3 suspects among students. Blair says, Sorry, I've been washing my brushes in the sink. I didn't look at your desk. Jason says, Sorry, I don't like coffee, and besides, I've been streaming stories for my followers. And Robin says, I was changing in the dressing room to be a model for portrait class. Can you spot the thief? It was Jason. Take a look at his back pocket. He's hiding rubber gloves. That's why he didn't leave any fingerprints. Wendy receives an emergency call. Someone had stolen paintings from her art studio gallery. Wendy interrogates 3 suspects among the visitors. Sarah says, "I came here to buy some of your paintings, but when I entered the gallery, the walls were empty." Jill says, "I went blind 7 years ago, so I didn't see anything. I only visit this gallery to use your toilet." And Robert says, "Why would I rob this place? I'm the major investor." Who's lying? Jill. If she's really blind, why did she bring this photo camera with her? Wendy carries out entrance exams for art students. One of these 3 artists is left-handed. Can you guess who? It's the third guy. It's easier for lefties to hold a palette in their right hand and paint with their left. This way, his left hand works and the right one stays static. During exams, one guy named Bobby gets very sick and faints. Wendy calls the ambulance and takes him to the hospital. She's just met Bobby, so she doesn't know his relatives, but still, Wendy manages to notice his wife in the hospital right away. Can you spot her too? It's the first lady. They have identical tattoos, and the third lady has a similar mole on her cheek, so she's probably Bobby's sister. Doctors suspect poisoning, so they keep Bobby in the hospital to make tests. Meanwhile, Wendy returns to the studio and questions 3 witnesses among the applicants. Sheila says, "Bobby didn't look healthy in the first place. I don't blame him. Everyone was stressed out during exams." Sam says, "I have no idea who poisoned him, but this person is heartless." And Xavier says, "I think Bobby's just pretending to be ill to get accepted out of pity." The next day, Bobby calls Wendy with the test results. He was poisoned. Wendy calls the police right away and they arrest one of the witnesses. Can you guess who and why? Sam. He knew about the poison before the test results were ready. The next morning, Wendy enters the studio and sees that someone has left a hot mess. Canvases are torn and paints are spilled all over the floor. Can you count all the brushes in this room? "13. What about the glass jars? Can you count the exact number? There are 8 glass jars in this studio, including this broken one. Wendy asks her 3 students, "Who's responsible for this mess?" Nina replies, "I think it was David. He never washes his hands and clothes. He's such a weirdo." David says, "It was Nina. She's just jealous because her paintings weren't selected for an art exhibition." And Amber says, "I don't know who did it. Yesterday, I was feeling sick and stayed home." Who's responsible for this mess? Take a look at the canvas frames. They're all signed. The only canvas that wasn't torn has David's name on it. Therefore, he ruined the studio and his rival's works. Wendy asks her students to the park for an en plein air class. Can you see any weird details in this area? This is an apple tree, but why are there so many oranges under it? 2 students have painted almost identical pictures. Can you help Wendy find 3 differences? Here they are. What about these portraits? Can you spot 3 differences? over here. After the class, Wendy is trying to leave the park and gets lost. She has to walk through this confusing maze. Can you help her find the way out? Only the first path is correct. On the way home, Wendy enters a supermarket. Can you count the number of cacti? Six. Someone had broken the most expensive car in the parking lot near Wendy's apartment building. The police interrogate 3 witnesses to find out who's guilty. Carl says, "This is my car. I parked it as usual and went home. Wendy woke me up with her call." Gia says, "I was just having a yoga class in a studio nearby. This car belongs to my ex-boyfriend Carl. Too bad he loved this car more than me." And Peter says, "Carl's my neighbor, but he's not my best friend, if you know what I mean. I've been working all day and just arrived." Who broke Carl's car? It was Gia. She's hiding a baseball bat inside her yoga mat.
You make your way through the dense thickets of the forest and record what's happening on your phone. You notice a hut. "Yeah, I bet a vampire lives here," you laugh to yourself. Ha ha. Still, you decide to check it out. Your readers love that kind of stuff. You go into the dark hut and turn on the light on your phone. Cobwebs cover everything. The curtains are drawn. Some candles are out on the table. Ooh, a key. You grab it and put it inside your pocket. Before leaving, you notice a large wooden box in the corner and hear snoring coming from inside. You're scared out of your mind right now. And just then, the snoring stops. A vampire climbs out of the box. Oh, this is bad. Maybe you can get away before it realizes what's going on. You try to get outside, but the door's locked. Oh, the key! Yes! No! It doesn't work! What should you do? Quick, you don't have much time. Just open the curtains. If it really is a vampire, it should be afraid of the sunlight. It worked! The vampire jumps back into the box to escape the light, and you make a break for it through the window. Finally, you reach the edge of the forest and get your first glimpse of the castle. In front of you is a large gate. You push on it. It swings open. As soon as you're in the courtyard, you realize you are not alone. 5 other people are there. They're just standing around. No one's talking to each other. You want to know if they've heard anything about the owner of that creepy hut in the woods, so you walk a little closer. But you get a strange feeling deep in your stomach. Something's wrong with these people. You can't believe your eyes, but it looks like some of them are actual zombies. How many zombies are there? You have 10 seconds. Look closely. There are 2 of them. That guy over there doesn't have an ordinary arm. It's all bones, like a skeleton. And that woman in sunglasses, she's holding someone's eyes in her hand. Are those her eyes? You approach a guy who seems almost normal, but he doesn't look at you. He just keeps staring at the sky. It's a little scary. Okay, time to venture into the castle. As soon as you open the door, you hear music. It's a waltz, and it's coming from the main hall. Several couples are dancing around in 18th century costumes. Yikes. You decide to try and blend in by hitting the dance floor yourself. Well, after a few seconds, you look around and your face turns pale. These people are phantoms. How did you figure it out? Look carefully at the details. You have 5 seconds. Look down. None of the dancers are touching the floor. They're just floating along. You run out of the hall, climb the wide stairs, and run into a random room. You lock the door and breathe heavily. Oh, you're starting to have serious doubts about all this mystical stuff. Maybe it does exist. But how is that even possible? A ray of sunlight suddenly shines on a luxurious bed with beautiful linen. Then it hits you. You're tired. Oh, you'll just lie down on the edge of the bed, and a 10-minute nap will really help get your head on straight. As soon as you close your eyes, though, you hear a rustling in the sheets right next to you. Then you feel a cold hand on your neck. You keep your eyes sealed shut. You're way too afraid to open them, but you pinch yourself to make sure you're not dreaming. The fingers on your neck start squeezing ever so slightly. Oh, that's it. You bolt out of bed. As fast as you can, you whip out your phone and try to record the whatever it was. But there's nothing. Only an empty bed. Were you sleeping, or was it real? You noticed something. Phew. Oh, it's just a bad dream after all. What did you notice? I'll give you 6 seconds. The sun was shining when you laid down. Now, it's the full moon that's shining. You were out cold for a while. You leave the bedroom and walk down a long hallway lit by torches and candles. The silence is broken only by the churning of your stomach. Guess you're hungry. Well, there's a heavy wooden door in front of you, and it's open just a crack. The pleasant smell of food starts wafting its way into the hallway. You go in and find a huge table, decked out with real silverware and porcelain. Oh, the food looks delicious. There's caviar, lobster, fruits, vegetables, different meats, plenty of desserts. Several people are sitting around the table, and as you approach them, they turn around to look at you. They're all vampires! How did you know? I'll give you 5 seconds to figure it out. The food on the table is untouched. The vampires have been waiting for their most important dish. You run. You make it back out into the hallway, then dart down a dark corridor. The vampires are chasing you. They're screaming. You find 3 doors at the end of the corridor. The first one has a fire symbol on it. The second has a snake symbol. And the third just says, exit. You try to open it, but it's locked. The vampires are closing in. What are you gonna do? You have 4 seconds before you become vampire food. Try the key you found in the vampire's hut. Great, it fits! You run out into the courtyard and lock the door behind you. The moon is hidden behind some thick white clouds. You sneak through the courtyard and open the back gate of the castle. Next to the gate is a sign with an image of a werewolf on it. You walk off as quietly as possible. After about 5 minutes, you see a long bridge. There's a beautiful woman standing at the other end. She waves to you and motions for you to come closer. But something's bothering you. Could she be a werewolf? So, you can either cross the bridge or head back to the castle. What can you do to find out if she really is a werewolf? You have 10 seconds for this one. Good luck. Wait until the moon appears from behind the clouds. Your intuition was right. As soon as the moonlight falls on the woman, she begins to turn into a werewolf. Still kind of cute though. You run back into the castle grounds and close the gate behind you. Okay, reality check. You're in the courtyard. Vampires are inside the castle, a werewolf is waiting outside, and zombies are approaching. You're trapped. Why did you even come to such a scary castle? You pull out your phone and start recording a farewell video. You thank your followers for their views and comments. Thanks for subscribing. You admit that mystical creatures do exist and promise that you'll never set foot in a place like this ever again if you survive. The zombies are closing in and the werewolf is breaking down the gate. Oh, awesome. Your fear is gone and you realize that this whole thing is staged. It's all a show. How'd you figure it out? Watch the farewell video again and find the proof that everything is fake. I'll give you 10 seconds to spot the clues. Do you see that big guy with a camera behind you in the tower window? The zombies stop growling. They scream, "Surprise!" They're not zombies. They're just wearing a whole ton of makeup. The gate opens and the woman takes off her werewolf costume and smiles. The vampires come out of the castle, carrying their fake fangs. This whole thing was set up by your fans. They wanted to scare you, and it worked. You're angry at them, but so happy that you're still alive. Okay, let's see how many you got right. 1 to 3 points. It'll be difficult for you to act in stressful situations. Watch more riddles and train yourself to be calm and focused. 4 to 6 points. Something really bad has to happen for you to lose control. Phantoms don't seem to scare you at all that much. 7 to 10 points. You don't even know what fear is, but you do know how to come out victorious in any situation. You have one question for your fans. How did they create that floating effect for those dancers? That was awesome. Your fans look at each other. What? What are you talking about? What do you mean? There were no dancers. A slight chill runs down your back.